regular meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mayor King,
Present.
Councilman Augsburg,
Here.
Councilman Niner. Here. Councilman Newberry. Here. Councilman Emo. Here.
All right, quorum being present, I'm gonna ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if everybody's had an opportunity to review the agenda, are there any objections to the agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, the agenda is passed by unanimous consent. If everybody's had an opportunity to review the consent agenda, are there any objections to the consent agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, it is passed by unanimous consent. That's like half the page there. All right, first item is we're going to open a public hearing for the fiscal year 26 water and sewer rates. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
I'll make a motion that we open a public hearing.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to open a public hearing on water and sewer rates. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Augsburg,
Yes.
Councilman Niner. Yes. Councilman Newberry.
Yes.
Councilman Emo.
Here. All right, we are in a public hearing.
Okay, you guys hear me okay? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Per state statutes, we are required to hold a public hearing for proposed changes to our sewer rates. The city is a member of the Middle Big Creek Sewer District. We entered into a contract for sewer treatment with them, and according to their rate structure, they have increased the rate due to Middle Big Creek debt issuance to upgrade the plant. We have active sewer rates and vacant sewer rate customers. The active rate customers are comprised of two separate charges. One is a flat base rate, and the other is per 1,000 consumption, per gallon rate, sorry. Our overall cost for sewer for active sewer connections includes a fixed rate as we have to recoup the processing, which is a charge Middle Big Creek is passing on to us and provide maintenance for infrastructure. In this bill, it will take in effect on the April 2025 utility bill. As you can see, we recommend a reduced base rate charge to $22.86, but then increase the commercial base rate to $33.43. The flat rate would go up to $71.81. Our per 1,000 gallon rate would actually go up to $10.29. Our vacant sewer rate actually would stay the same because they proposed that last year. It was going to be $49. So the proposed sewer rate are expected to increase an average customer's bill, which is 3,750 gallons, by 20 cents per month. Sorry. Okay. We are also proposing a water rate increase mentioned earlier in that budget presentation shall be did earlier in February. Here's what our current rates are and the proposed rates. The total monthly increase for water for an average customer of 3,750 gallons would increase $2.42 per month. As you can see, we have the base rate reduced down to $20.55. That is the first 1,000 gallons of everybody's bill. And then from 1,000 to 29,000, we increased it from $10.32 to $12. Over 30,000 gallons would go up from $7.18 to $8.50, and then the Water District 1 rate would go from $6.56 to $7.70. So the overall sewer rate increase, I apologize, would be expected to generate around $53,000 per year. And then the water rate increase is expected to be $126,500 to cover operating expenses. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from council? All right, we are in a public hearing, so at this time, if a member of the public would like to address council on these rates, please step up to the podium. We'll make sure the microphone's on. You need to state your name and your address for the record, please. Okay. Is there any other questions from council? I know I asked once, but, all right. This time, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Augsburg,
Yes.
Councilman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo.
Yes.
Public hearing is closed. So at this time, if there's anyone from the public that would like to address council on any matters not on the agenda, please step up to the podium, state your name and address.
I got one thing.
Okay.
Hold it for 2 seconds.
Okay, just a second.
Patience.
Now we go.
All right. Yeah, my name's Roger Kimmerling. I live at 513 South Walker Street. What I came to ask about is at Porter Lake, there's a sign that says there's no kind of boats or anything allowed on it. And I would like to propose that we could at least have non-motorized, some type of water boat, like a canoe or a kayak on it to fish out of. I don't know what that entails. I know we allow them at City Lake, but we don't allow them at Porter Lake. So that was just, I wanted to bring that up to the city and see if that's something that we could possibly get done or not done.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Shelby, is that a ordinance of why they can't, or is there a reason why we don't allow?
I don't have any, I
I don't know if
don't have any history
It's on the
on
state
this.
sign with.
Right, I understand that, I don't.
Yeah, I don't have any history on it. What I was thinking is that's something we may want to run by park board too. Let us talk about it internally and we'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, so that's something that we'll also put in front of our park board
Okay,
before it comes back to us. And we just need to look and see what the rules are for that. And that's a good question.
okay. Yeah, because it's really hard to fish around the bank because that thing gets so much moss around it. It's
Gotcha.
very difficult.
I don't know, there might be a reason, there might not.
Okay,
Sometimes it's just because that's the way it's always been.
right.
All right, anyone else? All right, we move on to our first item of consideration, bill number 25-08, amendment to Appendix B of the fee schedule.
Okay, let's begin. Tonight I bring forth bill number 25-08, an amendment to the Appendix B of the fee schedule. The fiscal year 2026 budget as presented includes several proposed fees increases to ensure a balanced budget. This ordinance amends the schedule of fees to increase water and sewer rates. As I state, we have in the bill what the current rate is and then what our proposed rate is.
Is there any questions from council? We had a public hearing, but is there anyone from the public who would like to address council at this time on this matter? All right. Do I have a motion on Bill 25-08 to amend Appendix B of the fee schedule for the water and sewer rates?
I'll make a motion for bill number 25-08, amendment to Appendix B of the fee schedule.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Augsburg,
Yes.
Councilman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo.
Yes.
You said that was on the April bill, correct?
The April 3rd, yes, the end of April.
All right, next item is the fiscal year 26 budget adoption.
Okay, it's me again. So tonight I will present for your approval and adoption our fiscal year 2026 budget adoption. As I handed to you, Shelby and she worked on a memo, an updated memo for some revisions that we had since our work session last week. A little background information, back in October of 2024, we started preparing our fiscal year 2026 budget by forecasting our revenue and our year-end expenditures for each fund based on our historical trends and known contract increases. Then in December of 2024, department heads began work on their base budgets. Finance, myself, presented you with a fiscal year 25 year-end projections to set that framework for future presentations regarding our fiscal year 26 proposed budget. On February 10th, 2025, a presentation of proposed water and sewer budget was discussed with the City Council. February 24th, 2025, staff presented the proposed budget to council, including the full budget line item document. The fiscal year 26 budget must be approved by City Council and will take effect as of April 1st, 2025. Then last week on March 19th, 2025, staff and council held a work session here at City Hall to go over capital improvement sales tax expenditures, water, sewer revenue bond expenditures, and other capital expenditures. So tonight I request approval of our budget of $26,809,289. Within that budget, we do have a few that were not part of the original budget we presented back in February. I increased fireworks for this year by $2,000 as we discussed last week. There was a slight, another additional 1% of Kansas. We did get our Kansas City water rate increase. I already had 4% in there, so they went up to 5%, so I did increase that another %. And then adjustments to some personnel expenditures based on what they were doing for their enrollment elections for insurance. And additionally on this budget, that we added was the automated sports field striker, which was $36,000, and a learning management system software, that was $14,000. You got any questions or?
Amy, my question was, we did not include the water.
Oh, I apologize, yes.
Okay, so the water rate increase that we know is from KC Mill Water actually has not been incorporated into the budget. So what we're proposing is that will come as a budget amendment at the next meeting, and it will have the offset from both, it'll be on the expense side, but then also in the revenues. So the rates that Amy presented in the public hearing are reflective of the amount of revenue needed to cover that.
That's what I was gonna say, it is already included in that rate structure that I had in the public hearing.
All right. Any questions or comments from council? I will open the podium if someone from the public would like to speak on the budget. Please step up to the podium, state your name and your address for the record, please. All right. So do I have a motion for the fiscal year 26 budget for $26,809,289?
I'll make a motion to accept that as read.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 26 budget. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Osborne,
Yes.
Councilman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo.
Yes.
All right, budget has been adopted.
Thank you.
Next item is a discussion regarding the animal shelter canopies.
Well, I thought I had this updated, just kidding. Hope you don't need photos. If you do, I can get out and then come back in.
Have they changed since last time?
No, they didn't. I just
Okay.
in the last minute, just a few seconds ago, went, oh man, what if they need to see these again? So at the last council meeting, we talked about the animal. You guys approved the animal shelter contract and then the revisions tonight. But the one outstanding issue was, what is the front facade going to look like? So, roughly there was one option that has a single gable canopy over the front. And the cost on that one was an extra $18,000. And then there was a double gable canopy that would go over the front that was $20,000 something.
335.
Thank you. You have it right in front of you. $20,335. All of it can be incorporated into the project budget if you would like it to. It really just comes down to what your preference is, what the contractor is asking, like that will hold up some of the designs. And so I just didn't know if you guys had time to think through it and if you had a preference. I will tell you, staff doesn't really have strong feelings on it either way. If we had a recommendation, it would probably be that option 2, which is the double gable canopy. But either way would be fine. It's all down to your
What's
preference.
the advantages of having the double cable,
As
or the-
opposed to?
the single?
As to the single, I just felt like it matched the facade a little bit better in the area. Specifically, some of them that have porches that it just provided another layer of dimension to it, rather than the single really having more of like it would be the same look as you see at Price Chopper, right? Where it's just one singular in the front and middle. But either one is fine.
For my opinion, I like option number 2. For the price difference, I think we're getting a better deal.
Anyone else?
No.
Is anybody opposed to number 2?
I am not opposed to number 2.
I'm fine with doing that.
Do you need a
so
motion or are you just gonna?
I don't. So what it will
Okay.
come back is it will come back either as a change order to you guys. It probably will be a change order to you, or it'll be a change order that we approve. So, yeah, I feel confident with that. Thank you.
All right, next item is a special events application request for facilities usage Cass County Fairgrounds for the Junior Livestock Show and Sale.
Thank you, Mayor. So I had mentioned once in one of my weekly reports that we had been contacted by the president of the Cass County Junior Livestock Association regarding the event that they hold every year the last week in July, typically held at North Park Center over in Harrisonville, that is not available for their use this year. So there's renovations going on. The city of Harrisonville is doing over at North Park. And so those structures are being torn down to make way for those renovations. So with that, they need a place to host their livestock show and the sale that goes with that for this year. They contacted us basically like these are what their needs are. So at the end of the day, they have specifically have not made a specific request. What I'm coming to you for is basically asking you to waive the usage fees of the fairgrounds for them to use for this year, and in lieu of, we're going to ask them to utilize their pens that they use, that like they have portable pens that they use for the livestock show. Our portable pens that we use for our livestock show have well exceeded their life expectancy. And when I say well exceeded their life expectancy, we used them when I was a kid. So I'm talking, and they were used when we got them back then by the American Royal. So I would say they're every bit of 40 or 50 years old, and we've tried to get them down. Anyway, our intent is to try to come up with funds to replace them, but in the meantime, we felt like utilizing the portable pens from CCJLA would be a good trade-off in lieu of them using it. It's also another just good neighbor. I mean, these are the same kids that come and show at our livestock show. It's just a different event, and without it, there's not a place then for them to have it. So again, they haven't made the request for the waiver of fees. I'm asking for the waiver of fees so that then in turn we can ask them to use their pens during our livestock show, and then that's what I want to present them with. And at the end of the day, they have indicated to me there's a couple of other facilities that they're looking at, but we're hopeful that they would select ours. It's honestly just it makes the most amount of sense, but we'll leave that up to their Junior Livestock Association board to decide. So I'm just asking for a waiver of the fees for the CCJLA to use the livestock barn, the parking around it, the community building, and the pavilion. And I have on there the rodeo arena. They have a 4-H horse show. It's at a different time though, and that they've actually rented that. That's been something completely different. But anyway, this would be from July 25th through August the 1st. That would facilitate all of their shows and the premium auction that's held on Thursday night, and then time to clean up on Friday. Happy to answer any questions.
Council?
I don't have any questions.
I think you answered everything I had, so.
And this is their first year coming to us or asking?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, it's a little something, it's kind of odd. We have 2 county fairs, right? Like, so if you're in the world of showing livestock, obviously that's my world. Our kids have 2 county fairs. No other place has 2 county fairs. We've tried years to say like, hey, let's merge the 2 together, because used to the like 4-H exhibits that we currently host in the Memorial Building during the Cass County Fair, that also used to be over in Harrisonville during the CCJLA Fair. They've obviously moved that over here. So we're like, hey, let's just combine them all. And right, like let's have one big county fair, livestock show and sale. And there's still this rough of like, nope, it's most of the people on the CCJLA board are from Harrisonville or the south part of the county. And they're like, we're not coming to Pleasant Hill. And I mean, I know that sounds bad, but that's really what it is. There's just a lot of bad blood. And so I just want to be a really good neighbor so that, again, if the door ever opens, that we could actually combine the 2 of them. It would be incredible. For no other reason for our kids, right? Like our kids is who would probably benefit from that. Our livestock sale over there struggles every year with number of buyers. And I think if we were able to hold it during the count, because nobody goes over there. It's literally just a couple of days worth of livestock shows. And so if we could get the promotion and, we have spectators and people that would come, I really think it would benefit our kids. But it's just one that, it is what it is. But if we can be a good neighbor and ever strike open the door, this would be our opportunity to do so.
All right. Anyone from the public like to comment on the special events application before we vote? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the special events application with the waiver fee for the Cass County Junior Livestock Show and Sale, July 25th through August 1st?
I'll make a motion to approve the special events application with the waiver fee for July 25th through August 1st.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Augsburg,
Yes.
Councilman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo.
Yes.
All right, passes. Next item is a contract award for the 7 highway water line replacement, Wright Street to Timber Street.
Thank you, Mayor. Back on the Friday the 14th, we had a bid opening regarding the 7 highway water line replacement. We had 4 contractors that bid on it. The 3 lowest were within 10,000 of each other. So with Jason's research and basically vetting the contractor that received the lowest bid, our recommendation would be to award the contractor Earthworks Excavation out of Higginsville. All of their references and everything came back great, so we would recommend getting started with them. I think you have the amounts and everything. Their bid came in at $763,978, which was just slightly under what the engineer's estimate was.
Any questions for Tony? Do I have a motion to approve the contract for the 7 highway water line replacement?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract awarded for the water line replacement.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Augsburg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo.
When will that start?
As soon as we get the submittals and stuff, which I don't think will take very long, so it should be fairly soon. We're hoping very quickly. As you've noticed, 7 highway is very busy already, so we're
Yeah.
a little worried.
I'm like, be careful what you ask for.
A lot of holes in the sidewalk.
Yeah.
A lot of deep holes. All right, next item is project proposal consideration for the Cass County Fairgrounds bleacher replacement.
Thank you, Mayor. I will take this one. So for the last, as you all kind of know, we are getting ready to celebrate, or we'll hold the 31st Cass County Fair in July of this year. And over the last several years, the fair has grown immensely. And I think can be a lot of things that we can chalk that up to, but regardless, we are seeing record number attendance over the last specifically 2 years. all of our different events. And so with that, we've constantly heard like, we're gonna have to do something about bleachers. We're gonna have to do something about bleachers. So if you've ever been down to the rodeo on a Friday or Saturday night, it sells out in capacity each time. And that's happened though for, I would say, the better part of a decade. But specifically in my time back in the last 2 years, we've noticed we were selling out probably about an hour before the event was even starting. So then unfortunately, then you get some very upset people that maybe have drove in to come see a rodeo. Most people would think you could arrive an hour ahead of time and still find a seat. And at this point, we're not even selling them a ticket because they can't, there's nowhere to sit. So the bleachers at the rodeo arena have served this event now for well over 30 years. As I said, we're indicating that we're hitting capacity each night that we host this event. While it's a good problem to have, just like I mentioned, it is our fear that people will quit coming back because their experience is less than desirable. So with that being said, we have looked at different ways that we could increase capacity by also improving the amenities or their experience coming to the fair. This would also probably give us an opportunity, it would give us an opportunity with additional seating and better seating that we could market our space to others to use. So in the last 5 years, specifically, we've always had to do bleacher repairs, but in the last 5 years, it's taken a significant amount of Fair Board volunteers as well as community groups that come in each year to facilitate improvements to this. So in the pictures I've just got up there, just a couple of examples. Last year, we actually had the high school football team came in and did some painting on all of the bleachers, and then it is staff and fair volunteers that go through and inspect like the welds, they inspect the bleacher boards, and then make those replacements accordingly to try and make it as a safe seating as possible. Currently, we are estimating that our seating capacity is about 1,850 seats. And what we've done with this is honestly, we just take the number of ticket sale or the total amount of ticket sales that we have, and we divide it by the average price, which, because we have a varying price, whether it's an adult or child ticket, and that's where we've landed on our estimate of 1,851 seats. I will say we might squeeze a few more people into that because we will announce that there is standing room only when they go to purchase their ticket. But I will say last year, we actually kind of cut down on that a little bit. We would have people show up, bring lawn chairs. They would try to sit along the like in front of the bleachers, between the bleachers and the rodeo arena, and it created a huge safety concern because if you needed to get to somebody in the bleachers because of a medical emergency, you couldn't get to them because there was so many people squeezed on the ground, basically between the bleachers and the rodeo arena. In recent years, we've started bringing additional bleachers into the east side, which is kind of in the picture on the left. You see, which over by like the yellow and white tent. So all of those bleachers on the east side are temporary. And I won't use the word portable. They're not really supposed to be portable bleachers. We make them portable when we bring them in. But again, when we did the arena expansion, though, now you set so far down, you really, like the first so many rows of those bleachers aren't used because you can't see then on into the arena because there's pinning and there's cattle and there's, stuff for the rodeo that take place there. But just an example of a full capacity night at the rodeo arena. So this is just a glance of our space that we have, an aerial view. So as you can see on the north side, there's two sets of what I'm going to call as permanent bleachers that we have over there. And then on the south side is very similar, but they're actually portable bleachers. They're on axles, they're on wheels. They're not in this picture because at the time, when this Google Earth captured this, they were actually in Harrisonville at North Park because the Sheriff's Department hosts their auxiliary rodeo fundraiser every year, and they borrow them, our portable bleachers, for that event. I will note we've actually, with additional or better seating, we've heard from many that they'd like to move that event here, but again, it's just all in facilitation and logistics of that. But you can see on the south side of this picture is where the largest space that we have to increase our seating and our capacity. So with that, we'll get ready and play a video. So we have been working, and my slide notes might be off, so if I repeat myself, I apologize. But we have been working with Hanson Sports. We actually got their contact info because they've given some bleacher quotes for our P1 projects that we've been using. But more specifically, they are an approved contractor through Sourcewell, which Sourcewell is a cooperative purchasing agency that the city is a member of, so that we can use that they basically already procured them, so that you're guaranteed that you're getting the best price. And so with that, Hanson is who has been giving us or been working with us. They did provide this video that I'm going to pull up real quick, and this is actually a bleacher project they did at the Livingston County Fairgrounds in Chillicothe. And that doesn't maybe mean something to a lot of you, but I will say I've personally been there, and it is one of the most elite county fairgrounds in the state of Missouri. So they have an incredible rodeo arena and facility. They also have a ton of enclosed spaces. I mean, there's a lot of events that are up there. But with that, it was a really large project. I will say they have a very large donor up there. They have the Litton Foundation, which is the family of former state representative Jerry Linton, who was from the Chillicothe area. They have poured a lot of money into this fairgrounds, but it just is a glimpse of what they have, what is possible, I guess, up there. Sorry,
I'm gonna mute mine,
okay.
and then we'll both try and play it same
My name is David Beckett, and I am president of the Livingston County Fairgrounds. ORC was marginal at best, and now we really have a really nice set of stadium seating that we're really proud of. My role in getting these bridges here probably starts from the very beginning. The group that I've got to work with now, we planned this from the very start, from the bidding process or from the trying to find someone to help us with the project, right up to the installation and the putting it up. So I was right there for the whole thing. Hanson Sports has been very good to work with, came, helped us do a bunch of measurements. We talked about bases to put it on, how it would best suit. We talked through a lot of different options, a lot of different expense options to give us the best product. Alan was always there, not just a phone call away, when we had questions about design, and then when we had questions about installation, he was very helpful. Personally, we've had in quite some time. The turnout tonight actually for us is really good. The community's responded very well. With nothing but positive comments. Knowing what I didn't know at the very beginning, it was kind of like walking into a blind. So I'm pretty lucky to have gotten a good company with good solid support.
Messed up mine.
Yeah, no, I had to stop that and then
There we go. Okay. So with that, like I said, Hanson Sports is who we've been working with. They have actually provided us a number of different layouts. I will be honest, when we started this project, we asked them to provide us a design, or we met them out there. They did a bunch of measuring, and then they came back and provided us a design for an additional or a section of bleachers on the south side of the rodeo arena. When we got that back, it was end of February, probably closer to the middle of February when we got that back. It was what I thought was significantly lower than what I was expecting. I truly had no idea what to even expect. So then when we got that back and we were looking at different ways of how we would pay for this, the conversation came up, and I'll get into that, of doing, looking at issuing a COP, which is a certificate of participation, where basically we would issue debt and then we would have an annual payment to pay it off. And the thought was, well, if we're going to issue debt, let's do it once instead of multiple times, and let's see what it would take to do both sides and just get it done. As we've worked through this, unfortunately, the market on metal and aluminum has been very volatile, and they're seeing anywhere from a 10 to 15% increase in the pricing that we had at the middle of February till now, because of the additional tariffs that are on, because aluminum is a Canadian product. So Unfortunately, when we got some of those bids back, then it was like, whoa, we're going to probably have to scale this back. So at the end of the day, we have a variety of options that we can look at. All of these options, again, it's been Jeff and I, Josh Alig, Tony, we've all worked through these. We've ran them through the Fair Board. Again, the sky's the limit. Obviously, we're trying to stay within a budget that we feel comfortable with, that at the end of the day, the debt payment has to be made every year. And currently, while the fair is, over the last several years, has made money to where, obviously the revenues are over our expenses, and all of that extra money we truly in the past couple of years have just poured back into improvements down at the fairgrounds. This isn't the only need we have. So there is a little bit of a hesitation when I'm like, we have to make a payment out of the special events fund. But if it eats up everything the fair makes, then there's a lot of other things that are going to go by the wayside that really need attention to continue to put on a quality event. So with that, I know this is really small, and I will actually email this out to you all. I was still getting some last minute numbers. We were still trying to make some modifications to get what we felt like was maybe the best option. But what we're looking at right now, or what we, I'll give you a couple of insight, and I know I can talk a long time, and I'll try not to. So initially we were looking at doing a 10-row system, which that's what our bleachers are right now. They're 10 rows deep, tall, whatever you want to call it. So that was the initial bid that they gave us. Well, then when we were like, what is our maximum? Like, let's try to maximize our capacity at all costs to see if we get as many people as we can fit in here, because honestly, we can sell that many tickets. I mean, we can, no doubt in my mind. With that, then you go to a 15-row system. Anything over a 15-row system starts engineering-wise. There's a lot more involved to it from an infrastructure and stability and standpoint that it just really shoots the cost through the roof. When you're going to then more of like a grandstand look versus just a set of bleachers. So with that. And then when you do a 15-row system, by code, it has to be what they call fully enclosed, which means where the seat is and where the front is that then meets the plate where your feet are has to be completely enclosed. Whereas a semi-closed system, there can still be a gap. Clearly nobody's fallen through it, but somebody might lose a water bottle or somebody might lose a tube of chapstick if it fell, but like a child's not falling through, like there's still a closed system. It's just not what they call fully closed. Clearly though, it saves you some money. So what we have had them bid out most recently is to do a semi-closed 12-row system for the south side only. And that's what you see there. That south side only has a seating capacity of 1,250. And then I will tell you, we have estimated that our capacity of seating, our existing capacity on the north side is about 930. So with redoing the bleachers on the south side, that would give us an estimated capacity increase of about 17.8% in seating. And this is now not using any of those temporary bleachers on the east side. If we're being really honest, like they have no business being moved. Like if we're going to use them down at like the motorsports events, they need to stay there. Like every time we move them, it causes obviously kind of some structural integrity issues, and we obviously, check welds and we do all of that when we set it up. But it's just a timing thing too. It takes a lot of manpower during the week of the fair to move those bleachers to the east side of the rodeo arena. So that is our goal, is to not have to put temporary bleachers on that east side. This estimated ticket sales increase, or increase in capacity, we estimate would add an additional $9,200 for 2 nights of rodeo. So again, while we'll have a debt payment, there will be an increase in revenue generated, not enough to cover it, but it would create some, right? This doesn't obviously take into account any additional marketing or usage that we could advertise the space for. So with that being said, though, we have received estimates from Whistles on Concrete on this amount, and then a local contractor just gave us a quote on pouring it, finishing it out, all of those types of things. And so south side only, we would look at a project budget of about $373,500 is our current estimate. And with that being said, like I mentioned, we talked about funding mechanisms. One of the ways that we felt that we could look at funding it is through a COP, Certificate of Participation, basically a debt issuance. I visited with our financial advisor, and on $373,000. Oh wait, I don't have that in front of me. Where did I say that? About $35,000 a year would be our debt payment on a project of about $373,000. Sorry, I have it on another screen, but as soon as I clear out of this, then you guys aren't going to be able to see it. Would be the debt payment on that. So again, this is one of those things that, this is totally up to you. We've just, heard again for the last few years, we've got to do something about our seating. I did mention, you probably saw in the video, these are all elevated bleachers. They are all ADA compliant. They meet code for ingress and egress based on the capacity. So, they take your capacity and you have to have a certain number for people to get in and out of the bleachers in the event of an emergency. They would all be sitting on pure concrete, so they'd be bolted down. But again, it actually raises you up. So they'd be up against the rodeo arena, but you would be up higher. Clearly, then there's another fence too there. But the visibility of what is going on in the arena improves, because currently those first few rows, they're on their ground level with the arena as well. So again, I have a lot more proposals. I have a lot more information. Of which, we felt like you're weighing. Like, we can go replace some bleachers for cheaper, but you're not gaining any additional capacity. So it's finding that happy medium of meeting what our needs are right now, while obviously trying to be cognizant of, what the cost implications of this. And he did say, costs right now they've gone up. I will tell you the quotes that they are giving us, Sourcewell will now only hold a quote for 7 days, because that's how volatile the market is right now and how much they're fluctuating. So the actual, which I have in this, again, you can't probably see it, on our recommendation, it is an estimate only, because he has not put that into the Sourcewell system, because the minute he puts it in and it gets approved, it's only good for 7 days. So again, what I told you is an estimate. I don't know that they would go up, that they're working on a project at Knob Noster for their football stadium right now, and they did in a week's period, their project budget went up over 10% because the costs have gone up so significantly. So to say that the costs are going down, I don't think that that's an option. Like, if, because I even asked that, like, what happens if we wait till next year, right? Like, things steady, level out. He's like, I'll be honest, I've been in the business a long time, and typically once costs go up, no matter what's happening, they really don't ever go back down. But, because that was one of the things we talked about too. Like, maybe we just pull the plug, we make do again, and, we see what we're at next year, and we very much can. We spend probably on average about $2,500 to $3,000 a year in materials to make bleacher replacement, or to repair the bleachers, new boards, new metal when, welds need to be done. And then I will say there's a group of individuals that probably spend 4 to 6 weeks leading up to the fair on our Thursday night work nights, that's all they do is bleacher improvements, or maintenance work. So it would free up time that they could be doing other things down there. But with that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's just where we're at. We've heard it. We wanted to give you some options. If it's something that you're completely not interested in, totally get it, but we just wanted to have it out there for you, so we could kind of maybe put a plan in place. Because again, if we're going to do it, we are getting down to the wire. They can still get this done this year prior to our fair, but we've got to move pretty quick.
So we have talked before about putting the greater project up for a naming rights project. So this system would fit right in with that. And could we then absorb these costs?
Potentially, and I apologize, we had mentioned that and I forgot to bring it up. The thought being is if we could try to go out and solicit some sort of large donor, large sponsor. We don't have a Jerry Linton in town. I wish we did, but but there is a thought if we try to go and solicit somebody and provide them some sort of naming rights to the arena. I'll just give an example. In my other life, We're working on the exact same type of stuff for the new facilities that they're building at the state fairgrounds. And so, I mean, you can, in that, obviously it's a big enclosed facility, but you can have everything from a wall named after you to a set of bleachers to the scoreboard in the middle to, of course, the whole building for a certain dollar value. But I could see where we could potentially try to locate a large contributor, and then basically you give them, typically it comes with anywhere from a 10 to 20 year, naming rights for that facility. Depending on what we could work out, I could see it being a 20 year. Basically, you try to do it the cost, the length of the COP until it retires. And then after that, you could either go seek additional sponsors that would then at that point help with other, improvements. But, I don't feel like we're that far yet. If we're like, yep, we're doing this, as the mayor said, maybe the first year, obviously not a problem. I just don't want to say like, we got to guarantee that this is what, we have to find a donor to be able to do it. There's a probability. I could see it. I mean, I think it would look amazing, with the improvements that were done to the rodeo arena over the last 2 years. And then you added new bleachers. There's no reason that we couldn't host, one of the Missouri High School Rodeo Association events, or, there's a lot of horse shows and rodeo events, and that is one of the things that we have. We have really, in a singular event when other things aren't going on at the fair, we have great parking. And so, very much I could see it being a multi-use type space.
I know Liberty did this with Fountain Bluff Park. It was like a 9-field softball, baseball complex, and Capital Federal Bank put up the money and turfed the entire complex.
So I'm saying, Shelby and I have actually met with a company that's what they specialize in. So we've actually been working on something similar to that for our rec complex as we're getting it done. Like, could we look at finding, again, you can name fields, you can do individual spaces. And so we've actually met with a company that does this specifically. So we're looking at that for the rec complex. So this is really no different. It would be another approach that we would take to try and, like I said, find somebody that for some publicity would help offset some of the cost. But yes, you were correct. Fountain Bluff or Capital Federal Park in Liberty is one of those that have done such.
Mayor, I just want to note a couple different things. One is the reason that we wanted to put this on this agenda was because I debated, do we give it 2 more weeks? One is because of I'm going to call it threat of tariffs on April 2nd. And so making a decision today may help us seal in some pricing right now before any additional tariffs take place. I don't know if that'll work out that way. I don't know whether they'll go into effect, but I also don't know what the pricing will look like. But I did want to start that conversation now because of that. The other one, just because it's harder to read, if we were looking at that max capacity seating, just kind of for reference, the max capacity seating cost that we have as our estimate right now is $735,000. I needed you to see that number, hear that number.
I was going to ask that question.
I know. I was like, you just kind of, because we have the same thought, right? It started with the south side, and then it was like, well, if we're going to do that, why don't we just do the whole thing? Why don't we make the improvement all at once? And that's really the reason that we chose this option that we did, just to improve the south side right now. Because I think realistically, at the next fair, the 2025 fair, we will either be looking, if we keep everything as is and don't do this project, we will probably be paying an expense to bring in some portable bleachers, or we will have a reduced capacity because those east side bleachers will not be coming back. And so, that those are the things that we're weighing. There will be an expense one way or the other. But then, one idea that I had pitched out to the mayor was potentially we could do the south side, and then we know what that service payment, or what we anticipate the debt service payment to be. The $9,200 that we have for our estimated ticket sale increase doesn't include, that's purely just the admission to the rodeo based on the seats that are available. It doesn't include any ancillary beverage sales that may occur if they bring any kids and they go to the carnival. We don't have any of that factored into that number. That is purely that. It also doesn't factor in whether we decide that we want to do any ticket price increases to help offset the cost of it.
It doesn't include whether we're gonna be able to get any additional sponsorships to help offset the cost of it. But then we were looking at, maybe we could also take the next year then to do the naming rights option to facilitate the improvement on the north side. And then kind of work in, now it's the whole arena as your naming rights, and then the debt service payment becomes part of what that naming rights cost is. So I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that those were the other discussions that we had.
So the bleachers on the north side are permanent, they can't be moved?
They could be moved, they're not on an axle, they are structured, like they're supposed to be permanent. The thought is if they needed to be moved, they are still in, while not in ideal shape, they are still in better shape than some of the other sets of bleachers that we use down towards like for motocross, UTV, demo derby, all of that. So we would basically try and swap them out for lesser of two evil. But they are not, they're the old football bleachers from the south side of the football
I was just
field.
wondering if it was,
Whereas the current ones on the south side, they're built on huge I-beams with axles. Like I literally saw the sheriff's department bringing them back last week. Like they are like they go on the road. So those then themselves too, we would use down at the other areas, and that would be a significant help with the amount of logistics and moving things around just the week of the fair. Obviously, new bleachers, we're thinking way bigger than just a week of the fair, but for that week of the fair, it would help significantly.
I was just curious if I'm all for new bleachers. If putting new bleachers would look more eye-pleasing to be on the north side and put the north side bleachers on the south side.
You could, except we would probably, if that's the direction that you guys thought that it would, I don't disagree. There's not as much space you're not going to get because the pavilion sits there. So you can't stretch bleachers currently without doing some modifications to the pavilion, which we've talked about. I'll be honest, we've talked about a lot of things. You can't stretch new bleachers the full length of the arena on the north side like you can the south side because the pavilion sits there.
Okay.
That's why we selected the south side.
I think too, with naming rights and being able to spend some more money on it, we could probably go the 15 rows on that side.
On the north side?
Yes.
Yeah.
We could go higher.
I like it. I think it speaks volumes for our community on what it looks like down there.
I'll tell you, Pat, I'm glad you kind of did that. I sent the mayor and Shelby an email on Sunday because I'm like, this really tugs at me, right? Because obviously I love the fair. I love what it does for our community, but we have obviously a ton of needs within this community. It just comes down to what is a priority, right? Like regardless, it's still a city asset. So, the fair is still a city event to the extent that it brings people to our community. So, are we going to put money into it or are we not, right? The fair makes a certain amount of money every year, and it didn't always. That wasn't its intent when it was first brought in. It was it was another community event. And so, of course I would love to see new bleachers, but I'm also the one sitting here saying, like, I hate to, I'm going to use the word take away. If it were, if again, the debt payment, has to be made and it's not all out of the fair fund one year, like it takes away from something, but it all just comes back to, it doesn't really take away. It's still a city asset. It's still an asset that we have that we would put money into just like we will if we're going to fix up a police department or build a new animal shelter. It's still a city asset. And so it really just becomes a matter of priorities. If we're going to do something great, if we're not, great. Like we'll still make it, we still have great staff and great volunteers that will make it happen, right? But you're right. It does give a good look. I have no scientific ways to believe this other than just spending lots of time down there. But I would still be very confident to say that a large number of people that come to our county fair are not from this town. They're coming in from other places. Right. I would say, I'm just going to go with a random number, but I would bet it's close to 75%. Like I could look around there and there are going to be way more people there that I don't know than I do know. I just think there's a large variety of people, and we get our ticket people that ask, where are you coming from? And I think a large portion of our attendees are not from here.
And is Hanson Sports the only place that you've actually been looking, or I'm assuming you've looked other
So we've not met with an individual contractor, anybody else, but it really comes down to that Sourcewell contract. So they've already done all the vetting. So you can use a cooperative purchasing contract. It's honestly the same way we do our street overlay, where somebody else has actually gone out and done the bidding so that you have the competitive bidding that then we don't have to do on our own. So they're just the contractor, if you want to call it per se, but we're actually going through Sourcewell, which has been done through a competitive process.
So what do you need from us?
How do you guys all collectively want to proceed? That's it. That is, it's a simple question.
I know mine.
Do you want to, I guess the question is, do you want to proceed with it?
Do you need that in a motion?
Do I have a motion to proceed with the Cass County Fairgrounds bleacher replacement as proposed?
I'll make a motion to proceed with the Cass County bleacher replacement as proposed.
Second.
I have a motion, a second.
Voice vote.
Yeah, I will, but it's out of order, I don't care. If anybody from the public would like to comment on this before we vote, step up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
I have a question. I'm sorry. I just have a question because I wasn't prepared for this conversation, so I trying to think through a few things. And the one question that I have is who does the school system use to put the bleachers in? Because they're the same type of bleachers that we use at football fields and stuff, right? So anytime you use a contractor that does everything for you, it's more expensive. So could we look at some other options before we went with the one contractor and then going and getting bids? I guess is my question. Thank you.
How long is the bid process?
30 to 45 days at minimum. And again, we could look for a different contractor, but because the price is through Sourcewell, it's going to be the same.
Sourcewell does bidding.
Sourcewell does
Yes.
the bidding for us. That is
Yes.
the benefit of using a cooperative. That was my first question, because had they not been, if they did not have Sourcewell contracts available, then we would have absolutely, without a doubt, had to go through our own competitive bidding process. But because they're a verified Sourcewell contractor, all of that competitive bidding process has been done. So as an example, I don't know who the school used on their last project, but as an example, this is Knob Noster is currently using Hanson through this exact same Sourcewell contract for their project that they're doing at their football field right now. So yeah.
Sourcewell is a cooperative bidding company, right?
Nationwide.
Yes, nationwide, yes.
Uh-huh.
That's, I was just making sure that.
Correct.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further questions or comments from council? All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Augsburg,
Yes.
Councilman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Emo.
Yes.
All right, passes. That's just where I was, Michelle.
Hey, Mayor, can I ask, based on the conversation that you guys had, are you interested in us having the naming rights conversation? And if so, and for
Yes,
future
continue
expansion?
that.
Okay,
Yes,
just wanted to make
continue
sure.
with that.
Just wanted to hear that. Thank you.
Especially if we can kind of absorb some of this into that as well. All right, staff reports. I couldn't tell if anybody was on the other side. Amy.
Okay. As you all know, on the consent agenda, I put a few budget amendments and a couple financials, so I've been working on those the last week or two. I've been working with Enterprise on selling there's 4 Ford Interceptors over there to be sold. They have their new Durango fleet police cars, so I've been working with them, getting that coordinated. And I've worked with our financial software, Tyler, about text payments. I think I've spoke about that in the past, but they need us to have a toll-free number, so they're trying to make sure we get that set up so I can maybe send out text messages instead of the robocalls that kind of get missed or, cut off. And I reached out to Joey, our financial advisor, to see about issuing another $2.5 million of our water sewer bonds. So he's working on some numbers for that. That's all.
Jeff?
I was gonna have a better presentation or discussion on the Shamrock Shimmy, but our guys have been doing a lot of work, getting the equipment and items set up for the games and everything down there. They've also been doing a lot of maintenance on the equipment, getting ready for the spring sports kickoff, which, as many of you know, the high school baseball team has their first game tomorrow. So we've been spending a very large amount of our time down at the complex getting the last few items of each area kind of put together, getting ready for that event, including the concessions. Dharma and the guys have both been very consumed the last few days getting that prepped, ready, clean. We have our health inspection tomorrow, getting ready for that event. And we also posted a position for a part-time seasonal worker this summer for mowing, and we're getting ready for that one. So.
Tony?
7 highway lining project, as you've noticed, the contractors have been in town. Last, I think it was Friday, we got everything switched over from the actual main to the temporary water service. They have, I think it's 2 sections are cleaned and lined and sprayed right now. They're looking to have that section done by the end of this week, or the whole section done by the end of this week. And then from there, they'll be moving to the country club to do that section from Hillcrest to basically the VFW in that area right there. The pumps are in place. They've got, the contractors have been working on some piping and getting everything fit together. They've got the stanchion poured and the pumps are set on that. So that's moving along. We've run into a little bit of an issue there with getting the water shut off to be able to pull some of the piping and stuff apart, but Jason and I are working on that. 5-year plan, we're still waiting on the DNR, so I have not heard anything from Jason on that, so any day now we should have that 5-year plan to be able to get moving on to our next projects. The 7 highway replacement, with the approval tonight, we will go to notice to proceed to the contractor tomorrow and begin the submittal process, and hopefully have them on board and starting very soon. 7 highway manholes, I don't know if you noticed, we did some more adjustments to those. We have 1 more to finish, and then we have 1 on 7 highway, and then we have 1 at the intersection of Myrtle and 7, and then 1 on Cedar that we're going to be doing. So, other than that, we're extremely busy.
Chief?
I only have one thing tonight. We are going to have Coffee with a Cop on Wednesday, this Wednesday at Price Chopper from 8 to 10. They've enticed us in with some free donuts, so everyone knows cops like donuts. So we put that in last minute, so we'll be there, and everybody's welcome to come out to Price Chopper for some donuts and coffee on Wednesday from 8 to 10.
Jody?
Just 2 things. Don't forget the election is coming up April 8th, so get out and vote. And I also received some information from Lubbers Municipal regarding their trainings opportunity for public officials. I know some of you were interested. They've got one coming up close by in April in Independence, so I'll be getting information out to you all for that if you're interested. I'll get y'all signed up, and it would be very beneficial. I learn something new every single year, so.
Kylie?
As Jeff kind of mentioned, we are getting ready for the home opener for the high school baseball, as well as kind of a soft opening for the rec complex. So that'll be really exciting. We've got some freebies to give away, little Pleasant Hill pennant flags and some free hot dogs. Can't go wrong with that. Just to remember and kind of mark these historic improvements we're making. I've also begun the Cass County Fair prep, marketing, just all the things, because we're 3 months away. It'll be here before we know it. So, and then just regular social media and some upcoming events. As Jody mentioned, we have the general election on Tuesday, April 8th, as well as the citywide garage sale happening on Saturday, May 17th.
Make sure we get some stuff out there about the fee adjustments for water and sewer as well, please. Nikki?
I pretty much won't say too much more that others haven't covered, other than just some timing for tomorrow night. We will do a welcome at 5:45. This is on that north field. There will be a ceremonial first pitch at 5:50. And then the Roosters take the field tomorrow too. The Roosters take the field at 6 o'clock. So it is just one varsity game tomorrow night. So if you can, come on out. It will be exciting. We are going to work though with our contractor. Shelby saw some over the weekend, and we've had some with the excitement and people, you can get to certain areas when there's a game going on. There's a lot of people they're accessing the parts that aren't open, and clearly there's some safety reasons of why we have not opened the entire thing, because it's not done yet. So with that, we'll continue some messaging, work with PCC to then we're going to have to literally shut down the driveways, at the end of every, even though it clearly is a construction zone, people they don't care. So, we had to have, police go out and kind of get people to leave over the weekend. So just continue, we'll monitor, but if you hear of, see of, talk to people, it is still closed. The only time it is open is when we are there facilitating a game for the high school team right now is all that it's being used for, clearly for safety purposes.
Are they parking out there?
They are, yeah. So we have designated parking spaces for tomorrow night. And honestly, there's more parking even now with there still being construction laydown zones than there was before. So they're going to get it cleaned up. We did a walkthrough again last Thursday. Like Jeff said, staff was out there throughout the weekend making final preparations. It's not done yet, but I still can't tell you how freaking excited I am. It just looks, and it's been so fun listening to some of the boys on the baseball team that have watched all of this happen, and Coach May has been great to work with, and so it's just been a really good an effort on a lot of people's part, and I think you'll get to see that a component of that tomorrow night in our ceremonial first pitch and how we're doing that, of really recognizing those that have helped get us to this point. Because let's be honest, you guys, it hasn't even been a year since the voters said yes, and the contract wasn't approved till the end of October, and the amount of work that has been done out there since the end of October is it's kind of mind-boggling, to be honest. But so with that, then also, as Kylie said, we do have lots of fair stuff going on. We sent out over 1,500 letters to Cass County businesses regarding sponsorships. I know I have a mailbox full. I was out a little bit last week for some family things, and so, but I do know I've communicated, we've landed at least one new platinum sponsor, which is a $2,400 sponsor. So, we didn't go all wrong in Missy addressing 1,500 letters to send out to people. So it's coming along. We're super excited. It's going to be a great year for it. So,
Shelby?
I don't have much else besides what everybody else has talked about. I am going to go a little bit more on P1. I will echo what Nikki said, so I'm really glad that she said it. All of these park sites are still active construction zones. Like I said, I went yesterday to look at the plaza. One of the contractors was working, and I saw some kids and a parent on Northfield, and I was like, oh, he must have brought his family. Okay, I'm not going to bother them. And again, I'm in my weekend clothes, so I didn't look very official. And so, but we went out top to look at the west field, and whenever we came back, I saw kids at the skate park. I saw a family getting ready to use the east multi-purpose, and ended up calling PD and being like, can you very politely look official and tell them, this is still a closed site, because there's still open trenches. There are, what we're opening to the public for these games is a very limited scope, and we've been very intentional on what is going to be barricaded off and where people can be, and so we are going to have to continue to push that messaging to the public. I love that they're excited. That's the best part, actually, is that they're excited to use it, but it is still an active construction zone. The other is, because I don't think I heard anybody mention this one, since our last council meeting, the playground has been installed at City Park. It looks really, really good. They are working on the splash pad next, and I did see where it's kind of dug out. I saw Kohler on site today. So that one will be coming up next. And then pretty soon, I think by the end of April, we will be doing the playground install at City Park. City Lake, sorry. Thank you. At City Lake. So there will by early season, be one that is back open. So, yeah, I think, yeah, that is all I have.
All right, is there any questions from council for staff?
I went by City Park today, took my grandson on his update, and
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
All right, with that, I need a motion to go into closed session for RSMO 610-0211 for legal, 3 for personnel, and 12 for contracts.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for RSMO 610-0211 for legal, 3 for personnel, and 12 for contract negotiations.
I'll second.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Augsburg,
Yes.
Councilman Nina,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Eno.
Yes.
All right, we're in closed.